They say ghosts aren't real. But what if one was deadly enough to cause a murder? In 1803, the people of Hammersmith were paralyzed with fear. A ghostly figure roamed the fog-drenched streets, attacking anyone who crossed its path. Then one fateful night, a gunshot rang out. Someone had killed the so-called spirit. But when they saw the body on the ground, the truth was far more horrifying than any ghost story. London, 1803. The air was thick with fear. A ghost was said to be haunting the narrow, misty streets of Hammersmith. People whispered about it in hushed voices, terrified of what lurked in the shadows. It was no ordinary specter. It was something far more sinister. A figure draped in white, its glowing form drifting through the night, its wails piercing through the darkness. Some claimed to have seen it vanish before their eyes. Others swore it had attacked them. But no one could say for sure. Was it real? Or was there something else hiding in the fog? Fear spread like wildfire. The villagers were too scared to leave their homes after dusk. Stories of the ghost's origins varied. Some believed it was the restless soul of a man who had died by suicide, denied a proper burial. Others whispered that it was the vengeful spirit of a woman murdered in cold blood, seeking justice from beyond the grave. Whatever the truth, one thing was certain. The people of Hammersmith lived in terror. One night, a man named Thomas Millwood was returning home. He wasn't a believer in ghosts. Dressed in his white work clothes, he walked confidently through the empty streets. The air was deathly silent. Then footsteps, quick, unsteady. Someone was coming. Before he could turn, a voice shouted, a voice laced with fear and rage. A shot rang out. The bullet tore through the night. Millwood collapsed, his white clothes soaking in the crimson of his own blood. The shooter? A man named Francis Smith. He had taken it upon himself to rid Hammersmith of its ghostly terror. But when he stood over the lifeless body of Thomas Millwood, the truth hit him like a nightmare. He had not slain a ghost. He had murdered an innocent man. Panic set in. Word of the killing spread. The town was torn between horror and confusion. Francis Smith was arrested, but the case was anything but ordinary. He had truly believed he was shooting a ghost. Was it murder? Was it manslaughter? Could a man be punished for trying to defend his town from what he believed was a supernatural threat? The trial was one of the most bizarre in history. The courtroom was packed. The judge listened as Smith's defense argued that he had acted out of genuine fear, that he had only meant to protect his people. But the law was clear. Taking a life, no matter the reason, was a crime. Smith was found guilty of murder and sentenced to death. Then, something even stranger happened. The public was divided. The case was unprecedented. The question loomed. Could a man be held responsible for believing in the supernatural? The king himself intervened, reducing Smith's sentence to 1 year of hard labor. But the case left behind something more chilling than the crime itself, a question that lingers to this day. Did the ghost of Hammersmith ever truly exist? Or was it something more terrifying, fear itself lurking in the minds of the people? And here's the most disturbing part. After the case, after the trial, the ghostly figure was never seen again. Some say it had all been a hoax, a cruel joke that ended in tragedy. But others are not so sure. Some believe the ghost was real, that it had claimed an innocent life as part of its dark game, that it had vanished, only to return when the time was right. So the question remains, was the Hammersmith ghost ever just a ghost? Or was it something far worse, waiting, watching, hidden in the shadows, biding its time for the next soul to wander too far into the night? Even now, over 200 years later, some say that if you walk the streets of Hammersmith at midnight, if you listen closely, you can hear the faint whisper of something that was never meant to be forgotten. A warning, a presence, waiting for you.